So when we're solving equations, the goal is to get the variable all by itself. And to do this, you do inverse operations, or sometimes we call them opposite operations. So think, what's the opposite of addition?
Subtraction.
Subtraction. So that's the inverse of addition. Subtraction. Okay, so everybody, what's the inverse of subtraction?
Addition.
Okay, and then the inverse of multiplication?
Division.
And then inverse of division?
Multiplication.
Good. So we're going to use all four of these today. On the front side of your paper, it's only addition and subtraction. And then on the back side, we'll do the multiplication and division. Look at number 1. One thing that I like to do is I like to find my equal sign and draw a line where I see my equal sign, like this. So then you're going to find your variable. This time my variable is on the left side. And right now, beside the variable is x minus 4. So, slow down. I've got to get it to where the x is the only thing on the left side. So right now I have minus 4. I got to do the opposite, which is plus 4. Okay, always think opposite. So when I do this minus 4 and plus 4, those cancel out, and I'm left with just x. And then on the right side, I have negative 3 plus 4 is 1. So my answer is x is equal to 1. So I want to show you, you can check these problems. I'm sure you did this last year. To check, all you do is take your answer and plug it back in. So the original problem is x minus 4. Right, I'm going to do 1 minus 4. Okay, and you can use your calculator if you need to just double check yourself. But 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So that means that's correct. Yes? Sometimes I'm going to tell you to check. Sometimes I'll tell you you don't have to. Unless I specifically say check, then you don't have to. Like on your homework tonight, you don't have to. But on the homework tomorrow night, you do. I did negative 3 plus 4. Right here. You see this side? Negative 3 plus 4. Yep. If I'm at positive 1 and I take away 4, think the number line. I'm at that blue 1. I take away 4, I go to the left. It's negative 3. Okay, look at number 2. Remember, you're not working ahead of me. First, I'm going to draw the line where my equal sign is. This time I see the variable is on the right side. So I've got to get rid of the number that's on the same side as the variable. So on the same side as the variable, I have minus 6.1. Right, I'll do the opposite. The opposite of subtracting is adding. Yes. I think it's good too. I'm not going to take off if you don't, but once we get to harder problems, the line really helps. So now negative 8.4 plus 6.1.
Negative 2.3.
Yes, you're correct. Negative 2.3. So again, if I want to check, I want you to at least write down a few checks in your notes so you remember how. I take this negative 2.3 and I plug it in for the n. Negative 2.3 minus 6.1. And I can use my calculator. You should get negative 8.4. So that means I'm correct. Okay, look at number 3. I'm going to draw the line. My variable's on the right side this time. I've got to get rid of the number that's on the same side as my variable. So I got to move the plus 12. So then I'm going to subtract 12.
Oh, wait.
Yes?
There's a Y on there, like, would Y be by the... Never mind.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now these 12s cancel.
20.
On the right side, I still have the Y. And on the left side, Aisha?
20.
20. Good. Okay. And we're not going to check all these. I want you to try 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Okay, try 4, 5, and 6. No. Four, 5, and 6.
Hey, Ms. Ware,
Yes?
will you send Destiny Conger to the parent office before y'all go lunch?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over these really quick. On the first one, do I add 6.9 or subtract 6.9?
Subtract.
Good. Minus 6.9. Because that's the opposite. The left side, they cancel. I get x is equal to negative.
2.7. Yes.
Good. Okay, number 5. Even though they're fractions, it's the same thing. I have minus 1/3. The opposite is plus 1/3. So these cancel, and I'm left with the variable. 1/6 plus 1/3.
1/2.
Good. 1/2. And number 6. I have plus 24. The opposite is
Subtract.
minus 24. So these cancel. I'm left with x is equal to
48.
Good. Okay. You remember this from last year?
Yep. Yes.
Good. Different. How'd you do it different? Should be about the same. Okay. I want you to look on the back side of your paper. We're going to skip number 7 for today, but we're going to come back to it. So on the back side of your paper, all of this has to do with multiplication and division. Again, don't work ahead of me. Stay with me. Number 1, I have a number and a variable right next to each other. That's multiplication. Good. So that means I've got to do the opposite of multiplication.
Divide 7.
Good. I'm going to divide. Look how I'm going to write it. I want you to write it just like I am. Divide by 7, divide by 7. Okay, I want you to write it that way. Remember, fractions and division, they're kind of the same thing. So this is divide by 7, divide by 7. So on the left side, these 7's cancel. And then on the right side, I have 161 divided by 7.
23.
Thank you. So we're not going to do this for everyone, but for the first one at least, I want to check. If I'll check, it's the same thing as the other side. I just take that 23 and I plug it back in the beginning. So I'm going to do 7 times 23. So I can quickly plug that in my calculator, and you should get 161. So that means I'm right. What? Yeah, no, just put 161. So look at number 2. You see number 2 has negative 7? You make sure with this you leave it as negative 7. Because right here I have negative 7x. That's multiplication. The opposite is division. So I'm going to divide by negative 7. Okay, so 56 divided by negative 7 is?
Negative 8.
Good. Okay, look at number 3. Number 3 sometimes messes people up just because they forget what to do. This, we read it as division. Y divided by negative 5. So I've got to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. Good. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 5. This is how I write it. You can write it different ways. But I'm multiplying by negative 5. So I'm going to do negative 12 times negative 5.
It's 60.
You should get 60. And let's check this one real quick. When I check it, remember this is division. So if I'm going to type it in my calculator, I type 60 divided by negative 5. And that's negative 12.
I got negative 50.
Make sure you're doing negative 12 times negative 5.
That's another line.
This, I do sometimes, I don't. Whatever you prefer. You got it now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just remember 2 negatives make it positive. Okay, number 4. There are a couple ways that you can do a problem like number 4. The easiest way for us to do it probably is to just divide by negative 3/4. So you can write it this way. Divide by negative 3/4, divide by negative 3/4. So negative 9 divided by negative 3/4. If you need to use your calculator, don't wait for the answer.
I said whenever I'm supposed to type it, they always say.
What? You see how I wrote this line right here? That line right there means divided. Well, in the beginning it's multiplication because they're right next to each other, but I'm doing the opposite, which is divide. What'd y'all get? You should get positive 12. Should be positive 12 because a negative divided by a negative is positive. Okay, I want you to do 5, 6, 7, and 8. Do those 4. Make sure you're showing your work. Okay, I want your work to look just like mine.
So we're doing it to number 8.
5, 6, 7, and 8.
Would this one be the same as number 4?
Okay, let's go over these. On number 1, I have 5C. So I need to remember this is multiplication. So what's the opposite?
Divide.
Division. Divide by 5. So C is equal to
Negative 13.
negative 13. Good. Negative 13. Number 6. In the beginning I have n over 12. That's n divided by 12. So that means I need to multiply by 12. You should get 144. Number 7. This is 2/5 times x. So the opposite of multiplying is divide by 2/5. So 10 divided by 2/5 is 25. Good. And the last one. This is 0.6 times h. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So h is equal to 3. Just 3. Just 3. Okay, we're going to save those word problems. And we'll probably do them tomorrow, if not Monday. But then after lunch, you can start on your homework. You see your homework is on the board over here. It's page 189, 12 through 20 even, and 196, 12 through 26 even.